We're back as we hope we've got everything fixed as we prepare to dive into the equipment selection for the first edition Pathfinder Druid. Hello everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire, here to start the beginning of the end for wrapping up everything for the first edition Pathfinder Druid. Today, digging into the equipment selection, and we've got a fair number of things to cover here, but, like I said, hopefully we have everything fixed here. We'll try to not meander, ramble on, and keep ourselves generally focused. So to that end, if you're new here to the channel, go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamer's Den. Or if you've already gone on ahead and listed yourself on such an incredible roster of legendary heroes, then go on down to hit the like button and share the video far and wide. But now we'll start talking about your gear, and I should preface this again by saying this is just a guide. It's not meant to be the set in stone thing that you have to follow line by line or everything's done wrong. No, this is just a general guide, and this operates under the assumption that you're going to be accruing equipment both as a means of just spending your rewards, the loot that you gain over the course of your adventures, or possibly just picking your bits of equipment out from what you're able to retrieve out of said hordes. Sometimes magic items and gear are part of quest rewards and everything. They're able to be retrieved and used and made use of pretty readily and happily. But resources are not unlimited, and your DM is not going to give you everything you ever want, so you're kind of going to want to pick and choose and try to make some of the smarter selections. Bear in mind that this is by no means a complete list. There are so many other things that are going to be useful to your druid, and this is built with this particular build in mind, so keep that in the forefront of your brain as well. So to start things off, we're going to go with your weapon selection. And here before you, I've got 3 weapons: the dagger, the scythe, and the scimitar. The dagger is going to do 1d4 plus your strength modifier and damage, crit on a 19 to 20 for double damage, has a 10-foot range increment should you decide to throw it, and is all the way around not bad as a backup weapon, especially if you end up getting swallowed by some kind of horrible creature. This can be a way for you to cut yourself out and get free, assuming that you're not able to just, transform into another creature and really start shredding things and doing damage. The next option, though, the scythe, I've kind of come around on after talking with Captain Crank for a little bit, regular viewer and commenter. Thank you very much for your time. Now, the scythe does 2d4 plus strength and a half in damage, which is no small thing for you, given that this particular druid build we're focusing on strength and wisdom. Now, its critical range is only on a 20, but it does ×4 on a crit, making this a very significant weapon. To top it off, it also provides a +2 bonus to trip attempts, so if you go with this particular build, once you transform, the weapon is actually going to confer that +2 trip bonus to your natural weapon attacks, which will be incredibly handy. And lastly here, we have the scimitar, which deals 1d6 damage plus your strength modifier. Also crits on a range of 18 to 20, which is significantly wider and does double damage on a crit. Doesn't confer any other bonuses there, but it's the difference between getting critical hits more frequently and getting really big critical hits between the scimitar and the scythe. Overall, though, I'd say you're probably better off going with the scimitar and dagger, but still, the scythe actually seems like a much better combo kind of deal once you make use of it. Just for my sake, my own sanity, specifically go with a wart scythe and not the farming implement. Farming implements are not great weapons. Now, just bear in mind that these are going to be your early game weapons or backups if things have gotten really bad to mid to late game, as you should be relying on your wild shape for doing a lot of your combat ability. Now, for any enchantments or enhancements you might get, alignment enchantments, banes, and other enhancements should be applied as needed. A scythe might work really nicely with the speed combination, especially since you don't have as many attacks. That will get you another attack at your highest base attack bonus, which just pairs up really nicely. Keen would go really well on the scimitar, and not do bad on the scythe either. Expanding to at least a 19 to 20 crit range does improve your odds pretty significantly there. Now, going on from there, though, to the main bread and butter for your melee combat abilities, you're actually going to want to make use of Magic Fang or Greater Magic Fang when you gain access to it. You touch living target creature to give a +1 enhancement bonus to attack and damage. This can affect a slam, bite, fist, or other natural weapon. Greater Magic Fang does the same, although it gives a +1 bonus for every 4 caster levels of an enhancement bonus. Or you can give a +1 bonus to all natural weapons. So for those creature forms that have multiple natural weapon attacks that you can make use of, this will give a bonus to all of those. And then you're also really going to want to look at an Amulet of Mighty Fists. This starts off at a 4,000 gold piece cost for a +1 bonus, or up to a spendy 100,000 gold piece cost for a +5 bonus. This gives a +1 to +5 enhancement bonus, or melee weapon enhancements that go on natural attacks. Enhancement bonuses from these enchantments count towards the limit and the market value, but they don't give an enhancement bonus to attacks. So this is how you're going to get Holy, Bane, Speed, all of these effects applied to your natural weapons. This isn't going to give you a +5 modifier to hit or damage. That's the big limitation with this here, but it still does open up a whole host of other options for you. And given that you can make Greater Magic Fang permanent on yourself and your animal companion through the means of just enchanting yourself, this is really a pretty solid way to go. It's probably going to be the best way to go, especially again on those mid to late game levels where you have more ready access to a number of uses of your wild shape ability. From there, though, we're going to come around to armor, and for most of your druid builds, hide armor is going to be about the route you go. 15 gold pieces, so not expensive at all, gives you a +4 armor class bonus, allows you to have in a +4 dexterity bonus should you decide to keep your dexterity score boosted significantly enough, and it gives a -3 armor class penalty, and it reduces your movement speed to 20 feet. Now, enhancements I would really recommend would be the Wild enhancement, which counts as a +3 enhancement bonus. You retain armor and enhancement bonus to your armor class when in wild shape, so if you have +3 hide armor, you are going to keep that +3 enhancement bonus and the +4 armor class bonus for a total of +7 there to your animal form, which is incredibly invaluable to combat. A lot of guides I've seen kind of rate this a little bit lower just because of how expensive it is, and yeah, for what it does, that is fairly expensive, but I'd say it's still incredibly worth it to have this enchantment in place if you don't just find armor that has it anyways. Definitely pick this up. Other enhancements to consider would be energy resistance, which only costs 18,000 gold pieces and does not factor into any of the enhancement bonus limits that your equipment may have. Now, you'll choose cold, fire, electricity, sonic, or acid damage. The armor so enchanted will absorb 10 points of damage of every attack of that energy type that comes to you. So, if you're taking 3 attacks that deal acid damage and you have energy resistance, this will take 10 points of damage off of each of those attacks straight off the top, saving you 30 points of hit point damage, potentially anyways. So this is really, really valuable for somebody who's got, that D8 for hit points and is not going to be ranking super high in terms of their armor class bonus for avoiding all of those attacks coming your way. The next enhancement is one that I recommend for basically every class, and that's Determination. This costs a whopping 30,000 gold pieces, but once a day, when you hit 0 hit points, this auto casts a Breath of Life spell on the wearer. And you can see how incredibly valuable that is. This gets you back up and into the fight right away. And it's not going to be every day that you get dropped down to 0 hit points, so this will be immeasurably useful to you. Absolutely worth it to pick it up at every turn when you get the chance to. Now, from there are still plenty of other armor pieces to look at. Getting a set of full plate made is normally out of the question for the Druid because they can't wear metal, but if you have access to the Ironwood spell and your DM allows you to make it permanent, you can actually have a suit of carved wooden armor that's every bit as strong as steel, and it may be worth picking up the heavy armor proficiency so that you're able to wear that and wade into combat with the highest AC bonus possible, especially if you can get the wild enhancement placed on it, so that way when you go to your wild shape form, it transforms with you and you retain that incredibly high armor class. But from there, we're also going to move into shields, and here I would recommend picking up at least a buckler. This is going to give you +1 armor class bonus with your shield and inflict a -1 armor class penalty. However, enhancements like Martyring, which costs 18,000 gold pieces once a day as an immediate action when hit with a crit, you trigger Mass Cure Light Wounds, which it heals 1d8 plus 9 hit points for 9 allies within 30 feet. That's actually pretty nice and is along the same lines of the previous enhancement we were discussing, in that it's going to give you a little bit of a boost to your hit points and to potentially to several of your wounded allies nearby. The other one I would recommend would be Fortification, either medium or heavy, and have it placed on this buckler. Now, whether you go with medium or heavy, that'll determine if it counts as a +3 or +5 enhancement bonus. Anytime you are hit with a critical hit or sneak attack, you will have either a 50% or 75% chance to make it a normal attack. Now, the medium enhancement is probably going to be more than enough for most of your combat situations. I mean, 50-50 shot of negating a critical hit and just making it a regular attack is massive. Same for sneak attack, especially if you're flanked and you have a rogue or a vigilante that's gotten into place where they can deal that precision damage to you. This will do so much to save your life and keep you from being absolutely blasted to bits. Now, from there, we go to the more broad range of categories of magic items and equipment that you're going to want to look at. Starting off with the Belt of Giant Strength. This will cost you either 4,000, 16,000, or 36,000 gold pieces, and will give a +2, +4, or +6 bonus to your strength. Since that's what we're leaning into, this is invaluable to you for your melee build. The other option, if you can be so lucky as to find one or afford it, is the Belt of Physical Might, costing you 10,000, 40,000, or 90,000 gold pieces. You will want one that focuses on strength and constitution, and while constitution is not a stat we are focusing on in our stat array, to get a bonus to it is still going to be a good thing, because that's extra hit points, a better fortitude save, so on and so forth. And this will give a +2, +4, or +6 bonus to both of those stats. Now, the next item is one that's just classic for every adventurer. It's the Cloak of Resistance. This costs anywhere between 1,000 to 25,000 gold pieces. Gives a +1 to +5 resistance bonus to all saves. Now that means it's going to stack with a lot of different other bonuses that you may have towards your various saves, making this incredibly useful to you and helping to shore up any weaknesses that you might actually have. Then we have the Rings of Protection, another item that is just great for anybody to have. This will come in at anywhere from 2,000 to 50,000 gold pieces and gives a +1 to +5 deflection bonus to armor class, which will be incredibly useful to you. As we've discussed previously, your armor limitations don't normally allow for the highest armor class bonus, so this will be a very handy item to have. Moving on from there, we come to the Headband of Inspired Wisdom. Now this will cost you 4,000, 16,000, or 36,000 gold pieces and will give you a +2, +4, or +6 bonus to your wisdom score, which, since you're a full spellcaster class and you run off of wisdom for your spell save DCs, bonus spells, and the like, this will be worth its weight in gold and then some for you. Next, I would recommend a Wand of Cure Light Wounds. Now this will cost 750 gold pieces. It's going to have 50 charges of healing at 1d8 +1, and you're going to use this after any fight. This is how you're going to keep your party healed up and ready to go. In fact, this item is so inexpensive compared to so many other items on this list that anybody could pick up a Wand of Cure Light Wounds and at least have it on hand, so that way you can help spread the healing around a little bit more effectively, more frequently, while not having to always constantly hit your own pocketbook. Next item here is another classic for every adventurer. It's the Handy Haversack, and it costs you 2,000 gold pieces, so not the most expensive item ever, but it has 2 side pouches that hold 2 cubic feet or 20 pounds of material, and 1 center pouch that holds 8 cubic feet or up to 80 pounds of material. Now this allows you to draw items without provoking attacks of opportunity. Absolutely incredible. This is going to be greatly useful for you. Sure, you still have to spend the action to draw items out, but being able to do so without provoking an attack of opportunity is huge and goes a long way towards damage prevention. Now, another interesting item for you to look at here, it is kind of a doozy in terms of its expense. It's the Dazing Spell Rod, coming in at 54,000 gold pieces. This will let you cast 3 spells a day as if using the Dazing Spell feat, dazing targets if they fail a save when they take damage. So consider this with the as a combo with the Spike Growth spell, given the wide area of effect that you have, and while it does a respectable amount of damage and can slow targets, throwing in a dazing effect on top of that is just icing on the cake. Absolutely great. You can do a lot to just really mess with a whole lot of your opponent's chaff forces that might be coming your way, really looking to try to get you to burn up a lot of your spells. Having this thrown on with it will help to ensure that you're able to deal with and put away any opponents that might be in your path. Now, the next item is specifically one for Druids. It's the Druid's Vestments. This will cost you 3,750 gold pieces. You gain +1 wild shape uses a day. Given that we are focusing on using wild shape a lot, this is going to be invaluable for you and is not the most expensive item ever. Now, this does lose its luster and usefulness once you hit level 20 and you're able to just wild shape at will and, well, remain in that form more or less indefinitely. It definitely becomes less useful at that point, but given that most campaigns do not really reach level 20 unless you are starting near to that point, this is still going to be a worthwhile investment over the long haul. Now, the next item is an interesting one, and it's also incredibly expensive. Many of these are incredibly expensive for Druids. It's the Mask of Giants, costing anywhere from 30,000 or up to 90,000 gold pieces. This mask will allow you to transform into a humanoid giant, gaining access to ogre, troll, frost, firestorm, or cloud giant forms as per the giant form spell. Now, the reason for the difference in cost is if you're going with the lesser or greater versions. The lesser version has access to the lesser forms and nets you some of the abilities like the giant form's resistances, dark vision, a little bit of a boost to speed, bonuses to your strength, penalties to dexterity, and the like, while the greater form allows you just a wider host of abilities, throws in some rock throwing abilities for you, greater boost to strength, penalties to dexterity, and the like. All the way around, this opens up a lot of really interesting options for you that are not typically opened up otherwise. Although this is one where maybe I wouldn't buy this if it were available, but if you got this as a piece of loot, I would consider holding on to it and making great use of it. It just allows you to vary up your ability and your tactics all the way around. Now, the next item is one that is great for any prepared spellcaster. It's the Pearl of Power. Now, these can cost anywhere from 1,000 to up to 80,000 gold pieces. These are one-day use, a pearl to recall one prepared spell of appropriate level up to 9th level spells, or 2 spells of different levels, 6th level or lower, in case of pearls that allow you to restore 2 spells. So, yeah, you can see why this is valuable. This is just extra spellcasting for you to have. Even if you're only picking up a couple of 6th level spell pearls or finding them, that's going to be more than enough. 6th level spells are going to maintain their usefulness and viability for quite a ways through, and will do a lot to help you compete with 9th level spells. Now, the next item is the Dusty Rose Prism, the cracked version. It's only going to cost 500 gold pieces, but it's going to give you a +1 competence bonus to initiative. And that fact that it's a competence bonus means it's a different type, meaning it'll stack with improved initiative. Any stats that you might have going towards it. It'll count with trait bonuses to initiative. All the way around, this can make you an incredibly able and fast-moving character, and it's very important for full spellcasting classes to go first to get their spells out there as quick as possible and really start messing with the flow of a fight, the action economy, and whatnot. Now, this next item is actually just a great one, whether you're focusing on summoning monsters or not. The fact that you can just do this with Summon Nature's Ally means this is always going to be useful for every Druid build. Now, the Rod of Giant Summoning will cost anywhere from 3,000 to 24,500 gold pieces. 3 times a day, summoned creatures gain the Giant Creature template. Lesser affects the 3rd level and lower Summon Nature's Ally spells. Standard will affect the 6th level and lower versions, while the Greater affects all the way up from 9th level to the lower level Summon Nature's Ally spells. Now, bear in mind, if you were wondering with a summoner, a wizard, anybody else that has a summon monster spell, they're going to get a great deal of use out of this as well, so you may have some competition with that. But if you're the only one with summoning spells, well, definitely hang on to this one if you can pick it up or get access to one. The Giant Creature template will do more for your battlefield control and battlefield capabilities than a lot of other items. Now, as I'd said earlier, there are just so many other really, really cool items, like healer's satchels. There's one that's like evergreen bead or seed satchels, something like that, that will essentially allow you to have access to all of your plant-based spells, like spike growth and the like. All of those things are going to be really, really cool to have, and there's just, God, so many more. You could even get barding for yourself for when you turn into an animal, if you don't want to worry about getting the wild enhancement put down. You could get enchanted barding and go into one of your combat forms, say turn into a dire bear, and then you can just be this gigantic, ungodly bear monstrosity that's just layered with chain and plate mail armor that's been enchanted all the way to hell and back, and just really, really lay into your opponents. And there's so many cool options. So, what do you think? Let me know your thoughts down below. Did you like today's video? Did you dislike it? Would there be anything that you might recommend that just didn't make it into the list here today? Any glaring omissions that you might want to put out there? Or interesting items? Certainly, there are just so many awesome, wondrous items that are just very, very useful. But either way, let me know your thoughts down below. Hit those like or dislike buttons. And remember, if you're new here to the channel, then go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamers Den. But with all that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. Thank you all so very much for your time, and you all have yourselves a good night.